production devices, and other explosive making equipment. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up $330, 330, the S&P up 33, and the NASDAQ up 103. Coming up, we'll cool off a little tomorrow before heating back up into the 70s. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time 101.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Are you looking for the perfect downtown lunch spot? The Garden Restaurant at Temple Square is opening on June 30th in Salt Lake City. Enjoy a reimagined space and a fresh, healthy menu featuring handcrafted sandwiches, rich soups, unique salads, and their famous homemade pot pies. You'll see and taste the difference in every menu item. The Garden is perfect for lunch meetings, taking a break while out shopping, or a spring stroll downtown. Visit the reimagined space with remarkable taste. Grab and go or stay and dine in using a new online ordering option. Find entry from the ground floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, open Monday through Friday, 11 to 3. Visit thegardenslc.com to learn more. Fresh flavors, iconic location. The Garden Restaurant at Temple Square is opening June 30th. Hope to see you there. thegardenslc.com.
We're the professional staff at Renaissance Ranch.
We are all recovered drug addicts and alcoholics
enjoying life in recovery.
We don't see addicts as bad men trying to be good.
Rather sick men that need to get well.
This is our message to them.
That it doesn't matter how lost, beaten down, or defeated you may feel.
We know you can overcome the darkness as we have.
And now, we are honored to be here for you and to show you the way out.
Our greatest desire for you is to see what we see.
That you are capable of healing.
That you are divine.
Prepare to emerge as the father, husband, and son that you were destined to be.
So to our new brother, we say, welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome to the Brotherhood of Renaissance Ranch.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits and its emergency traffic. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have about 6 miles of solid stop-and-go delays, give or take, on that 6 miles. This is in Box Elder County due to a fatal accident northbound I-15 in Tremont. Now, due to the nature of this accident, we know that crews will be on the scene for at least another hour or two, depending on how long it takes them to conduct their investigation of the crash scene. So right now, with these delays, all traffic will be forced off the freeway at exit 376. You have a couple of options. You could sit through the delay or take an alternate route. One of those routes could be a road west of I-15 through Bear River City at 5200 West. But at some point, you'd still need to connect to I-15 a little bit past that. Again, if you want to delay your travel time, you could take a lunch break off of I-15. But again, it's still going to be a while before the freeway is reopened and all traffic will be allowed through. Murdoch Hyundai, home of 3.99% for 6 years on Santa Fe, Tucson, or Elantra. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's high looking to hit up to 68 degrees. We cool off a little bit tomorrow with a high of 62 and a chance for some rain showers before we heat back up into the 70s for Thursday and Friday. Right now, fair conditions and 62 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Burl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com or Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Reports early this morning that Amazon would add a new price breakdown to their products, showing an import surcharge. Several businesses have made similar proposals, but the alleged plan from Amazon brought a harsh rebuke from the White House.
This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years?
Now, Amazon says those early reports weren't even true. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host, Leah Murray, alongside Aaron Ryder. Aaron, I love her response. So can I just talk about this a little bit? First of all, I'm not sure I blame Biden for the inflation. I actually kind of blame Trump for flooding the market with money during COVID.
Well, it's really hard for, they talk about how each president inherits the economic...
of the previous guy.
The economy of the previous guy.
But that's a fun argument, and we have that argument every 4 years all the time, right? But my thing is, inflation's not actually a tax. So it doesn't make sense for a company to put on your receipt, here is the cost of money today. Mm-hmm. Here is the interest rate today. Mm-hmm. That is never on anyone's receipts. Take a look at any receipt you ever received.
Yeah. Also because it's not a surcharge that you add and take away.
Correct.
Right?
It's not part of the exchange of goods, right? But a tariff is actually a tax. Mm-hmm. And when I shop at Amazon, one of the things it tells me on my cute little receipt is the amount of tax collected for state and local. Every time you buy anything on a receipt, it will tell you, here is the tax that was collected. So the that's just, the wrong analogy, right?
Well, and even more, let's just talk about the fact that Amazon didn't even actually go through with this. There were some discussions within Amazon, but it was mainly for their Amazon Haul site, which is like their super budget site. There were some conversations about it on that segment. They decided not to go through with it, but somehow that got out anyway. And now you have the press secretary of the President of the United States talking about how it's a hostile and political act by Amazon. And Amazon has had to come out and say, what are you talking about? We're not doing this. And I feel like it's also indicative of just the chaos involving the tariffs, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's a where are we with tariffs now? I don't even know. Like, I can't even tell you what the current tariffs are at this point in time and who is subject to them other than China.
So let me ask you a question. Because you're saying it's like all the chaos around the tariffs. But a little bit, Aaron, I want to be like, dude, it is the chaos around this administration. So why wouldn't you check with Jeff Bezos, who was standing next to you when you were inaugurated, who has done all sorts of work over the last few months to look like he loves you? Why wouldn't you call him first before you launch Caroline Levitt at you, which caused their stock to drop, right? Like this was a market hit.
That doesn't surprise me, though. And I don't know that that's necessarily chaotic. I think it's poor... it's a poor job of the Trump.
You?
Well, because
major Trump donor has this story come out. You don't confirm first with your colleague who you actually clearly know. We've all seen them in pictures together before you launch an attack on them.
It's because you're the president of the United States and he's one of your donors. And yes, that matters, but you're still the president of the United States. And you know that if you say something and you make an example out of Amazon, nobody else is going to do this.
All right, so let me ask you a question as someone who's been a candidate, because I have never been one, so I totally defer to your expertise. It's good practice to attack your donor publicly like this?
I'm not saying that
Even
at all.
Even if you're king of the world, right? But like, this is probably not good politics?
Well, but no, it's not good politics, and I don't approve of it at all. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't get results. And once you are in office, that is a different relationship than a candidate who is running for office, right? Trump as a candidate is very different than Trump as the president. And if Donald Trump's administration, through Caroline Levitt, is calling out Amazon for, marking the tariffs on the website or whatever and highlighting this action, and they go after Amazon and make an example out of Amazon to the point that their stock drops, even if it's just a couple points and even if it bounces right back, any smaller business isn't going to want to go anywhere near this.
That might be true. So I hear you for the short-term gain.
Yeah, but Donald Trump is not about long-term relationships.
No, I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. But a little bit, it's like, I don't know how to say this. Amazon's going to be around after Donald Trump is president.
It is.
And Caroline Leavitt, I think, might want to actually have a career. So here she is launching an attack at a major Republican donor as someone who couldn't win her first race, might actually want to do something after she's the press secretary. It just feels like bad politics.
But that's not how the Trump administration thinks about it, right? And we see that because we see Trump's approval is way down right now.
Yeah.
Right? Way down. And why is that? It's because his approach is so toxic to so many people. It's the reason he lost in 2020, because people were like, I like the ideas. I like that you're willing to go after things. I like that you're willing to have hard conversations, and I want someone who will do that. But the way in which you are going about it is causing almost more problems than the issue you were trying to address in the first place.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Let's talk, because you said if this happens and Amazon blinks, although to be fair to Amazon in this political dance, they could feasibly be like, we didn't actually blink because we never said this in the first place. So you attacked based on a report rather than confirming with us. It was never going to be on our website. It was going to be on Amazon Hall. But here we've got online retailer Temu, also known for its ultra low prices, being hit by this tariff war, this trade war, and they are now putting out their import charge. So again, I actually don't have a problem with it. It's a tax.
I don't either.
Like your receipt should have taxes
I
on it.
I want to know because this is one of the arguments with tariffs. It's that the end consumer, the American consumer, is going to ultimately pay the cost of that, not China. And Temu is a perfect example of that. It's it's not an American company. These are Chinese companies, but they are charging American taxpayers who are buying those products. Even with Amazon, I would not fault Amazon for putting this on their website because 99% of the stuff on Amazon comes from China, and everybody knows that, right? Like I want to know. I want to know how much this is costing me because I elected someone to do something about the economy. And if that's not happening, there's going to be retribution from the American political body. Right?
Yeah, so let's listen. Here we've got President Trump telling reporters outside the White House just a few minutes ago, Aaron, that he had a great call with Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly, and he did the right thing.
So probably not a lot of distance between President Trump and his bros, right? So Jeff Bezos in that conversation.
But Jeff
sounds
Bezos
like he's
is
still there.
a timid bro. Like he has not been besties with Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's recent love.
It's yes.
But so maybe, I guess my biggest problem then probably is Caroline Leavitt's, the ferocity of that attack.
Yeah.
When clearly this
relationship. It was an unfair statement.
Right.
It was absolutely an unfair statement. And she said it to be sensational, and it was sensational. Here we are talking about it, right?
Right.
So, yeah. And look, Trump probably called Bezos because of what you just said. Bezos is a very influential donor and has a lot of money. He also happens to own a very large newspaper, the Washington Post, which he has kind of told to be kind to Trump.
Right.
He could change that on a dime.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I think there's a little bit of Trump making nice and doing
like Trump
what he needs
is better
to do.
than Caroline Leavitt is, which I'm not surprised by.
Well, and who knows? Maybe this was an internal conversation and it backfired, and then Trump has to go smooth it out, right? Sometimes that happens. Anyway, tariffs, they're never going away. All right, well, next on Inside Sources. How President Trump may have influenced the Canadian elections, contributing to a win for the Liberal Party. We'll be right back.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy, and Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park, Hurricane. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Well, the freeway is closed northbound I-15 in Box Elder County due to a fatal accident in Tremonton. All traffic will be detoured off of the freeway at exit 376. Now, the problem is we have solid delays back through the Elwood area on the way to Honeyville. So right now we're looking at probably 6 to 7 miles of solid backups. If you know an alternate route, you want to consider taking that. Otherwise, allow extra time to get through this stretch. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and there's a good chance you've heard me talking about our free furnace sale. The one where you buy a new air conditioner and we give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it, about $400. Well, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than April 30th, and once I think our schedule's full enough, I gotta pull these ads, so don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. The main reason we do this sale is to give you an incentive to help us keep our guys busy when the weather's mild. And thanks to your help, we're able to keep our guys and keep growing. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, you owe it to yourself to at least schedule a free estimate and get all the details about our free furnace sale. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive so you can stop worrying about them and invent new things to worry about, like snakes in your bedroom. Sure, that sounds incredibly irrational, but now that we've mentioned it, you are a little worried. The odds of one snake, let alone snakes plural, are so slim. But you might want to check. Oh, you're not near your bedroom. Guess you'll just have to sit there and worry about it. So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Canada's Liberal Party has won the election, And many Canadians, politicians, researchers are saying that President Trump's comments and actions toward Canada playing a major part in the election result. So let's just kind of lay this out. Aaron Ryder alongside Leah Murray. We've got incumbent Prime Minister Mark Carney, who recently took over, because you're all probably wondering, wait a minute, isn't it Justin Trudeau?
Recently, as in we covered this story when he took over,
That's right.
in the last couple of months.
Yeah, so Justin Trudeau steps down. Mark Carney takes over. Expectations, if I could visualize the graph for you, Conservative Party should have won. Like in the little lines when you're tracking,
almost
they were
a shoo-in.
Right, totally a shoo-in, totally going to win. And then when you track the little line for the Liberal Party over the last couple of weeks, it shoots straight up. I mean, it is a precipitous, just straight up jump. And the Conservative running for Prime Minister, Pierre Poilievre, which I'm going to just say that name wrong, and I apologize, French
We
not
are not
my
French.
language. Yeah, he lost not even Prime Minister, only Prime Minister, but he's not even in Parliament anymore.
Yeah, he loses his seat in Parliament.
Right, so the guy who the Conservatives are running to be the next Prime Minister, their party did so badly that he lost his Parliament seat.
Mm-hmm.
So little bit, Liberals were way behind in the polls until President Trump came in. And I want to kind of talk about what you think are the possible explanatory variables, Aaron. So one, it could be all of the 51st state rhetoric. Two, it could be tariffs. Three, part of what made Trudeau popular in Canada originally was kind of an anti-Trump or not Trump vibe. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit for Trudeau, having Biden as the president wasn't helpful, right? Because his rhetoric very much needed a big bad character to the South that he could react to. Which one do you think's playing the biggest role?
All of them. I think it's just a general, the Conservative candidate, Pierre Poilievre, we're not going to say that right. We'll just call him Pierre.
Someone who knows French needs to text us and say, what is wrong with you people?
I know. We need a
we should have checked that before we went live, Aaron. I feel like we did not do our due diligence.
Conservative candidate, Pierre, he took an approach that was very Trump-like, and his message was Canada first, and he was brash, and he was bold, and he was out there and taking a lot of pages out of Trump's book in terms of how he campaigned. But doing that at a time, I think at the beginning of Trump's administration, maybe that would have worked. But now, after Trump has levied a number of tariffs on Canada that may or may not be in effect, we'll never actually know, and all this talk of the 51st state, talking about Justin Trudeau as the governor of Canada, all of these different things, renegotiating our relationship with Canada, I think just the general relationship with the United States had a huge impact on this. And so if you see one of your main foreign partners, one of your primary partners attacking you in this way, and you have a candidate who's taking exactly the same approach as the leader of that country who's going after you, I mean, I'm not surprised that this backfired so badly. In fact, let's listen to Prime Minister Mark Carney talk about the relationship with the United States and the 51st state issue.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know. I feel like that sums the whole thing up, right? And I'll also say this. Mark Carney isn't Justin Trudeau. Had Justin Trudeau still been in this race, then maybe this would be a different outcome because Justin Trudeau's popularity was not high. But Mark Carney showed up and had enough time to establish himself as Justin Trudeau's replacement, and also happens to have the benefit of being a banker. He's a Liberal candidate with a banking background, which is not always the case. And so I think he was probably able to pull some support that Justin Trudeau may not have been able to pull.
Yeah, I wanted to just add something a little personal. And by the way, we did get it's Poilievre, right? So someone told us that's how you actually pronounce the French. And I just need to acknowledge this right here into the universe because somewhere my grandmother is looking down from heaven and is not impressed because I am from New York and New York shares a border with Canada. And my grandmother's farm that she grew up in, was on that border. So grandma spoke French and English fluently, went back and forth, right? I have cousins who were Quebecois, right? Like they are from Canada. And she would always tell this story. We used to go to our neighbor's farm to get apples. So we were breaking trade law every time we did it because the neighbor's farm was actually in Canada, right? So they would cross the border, get apples from their neighbor, bring them back for a pie, and never paid any tariff on that when they did that. It's interesting to me to have Canada in the role of saying America's trying to break us because America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. I grew up with Canada basically being, dude, I used to go watch, sports in Montreal. You did not need a passport, right? Like you could just go across the border. All of that changed with 9/11, and I understand it, right? Like border security became a really hot thing. But it's like in my lifetime, Canada went from a place where my cousins are from, where I have been so many times on that farm, eating apples probably illegally, right? Without a passport as a child, to now that prime minister basically thinking that the United States is looking to break Canada so they can take Canada and make it a 51st state, right? That the prime minister is using the language of American betrayal, right? We have to look out for ourselves.
Well, let's listen to that. Let's listen to a couple of things that he said in his speech.
We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over.
That statement is really interesting to me. A relationship based on steadily increasing integration, which in some ways is kind of the point of the whole 51st state argument, right? Like there are benefits to the U.S. and Canada operating together and doing things together.
It's the point of NAFTA.
And it's the point of,
it's the point of having free trade so you can eat apples from the neighbor's farm and not have it be a big deal.
But that's kind of the point. And so he's talking about this steadily increasing integration. It's over. And that seems to me to be completely contrary to the point that Donald Trump was going after in the first place.
Isn't the answer that President Trump's not really paying attention? Right. So
I don't know about that. I think it's intentional. I think it's very intentional. But I also think that President Trump comes in and he dumps a bomb in the middle of things and then deals with the aftermath.
I think he thinks, like I did as a child, Canada's just a place you go. Right? If you want to visit Niagara Falls, I always would advise you stay on the Canadian side. It's prettier. By the way, it totally is. Right? So when you spend time in Canada, which I have done, our senior trip was to Canada. Like we did that all the time. But that's a whole other country. And a little bit what I'm trying to say is that President Trump didn't acknowledge that it's a whole other country. Saw that integration that we had with them and didn't appreciate with any gratitude like who they were and what their identity was.
All right.
Does that
I see
make
what
sense?
you're saying.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Totally not paying attention.
I think that's certainly how the Canadians feel.
Yeah, and I think they're not wrong.
Yeah, I can totally see why they would feel that.
So now we've got our closest neighbor who is most like us saying the relationship is over, saying that they have to watch out for themselves, which leads me to think they're going to start building, right, bilateral relationships with other people. None of this is helpful.
Yeah.
It's not helpful at all.
Well, where do you think we go from here? Do you think Mark Carney and Donald Trump build any sort of meaningful relationship?
I think this changes when President Trump's no longer president. And I feel like the next president, regardless of their party, is going to figure out that this is not how you behave. But here's the thing, Aaron Ryder, let's stick with this international stage and other places where I feel like we shouldn't be behaving this way with our foreign policy. Let's have a conversation about Russia and Ukraine and how that might cascade into the way China deals with Taiwan. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story. If you're driving through downtown Saratoga Springs tonight, there's a good chance you will be stuck in heavy traffic. But UDOT hopes a planned road extension can help. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
There's a virtual meeting tonight going over the details of an environmental study to extend the Mountain View corridor from the northern end of Saratoga Springs 10 miles south to the southern tip of Pelican Point. Then tomorrow evening, UDOT will be at Lake Mountain Middle School to hear from the people directly.
Tonight's virtual meeting starts at 6. Tomorrow's in-person meeting is at 5. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Amazon says the reports about showing tariff changes on their products aren't true. Even though the reports weren't true, the White House is still calling it hostile and political.
Amazon is denying the claims. It launched backlash from the White House, saying adding tariff charges to the main Amazon website has never been under consideration. There had been some discussion about showing import charges on the more obscure, ultra-low-cost website called Amazon Haul, but nothing on the main Amazon website, and that it was only considered for Amazon Haul, but was ultimately not approved, and Amazon has not been moving forward with it.
That is ABC's Alex Stone. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 348 points, sitting at 40,575. S&P 500, it's up by 35 points. The NASDAQ up over 100 points, more than 0.5%. We do have an emergency traffic situation in Box Elder County. We'll get an update coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Attention Utah residents. The tariffs are here and prices will be going up May 1st. Sound Warehouse is loaded in thousands of dollars in pre-tariff mobile audio video systems and more. Beat the tariffs at Sound Warehouse until the end of April. Marine, Harley's, and side-by-side audio. The entire inventory of Sound Warehouse at pre-tariff prices through the end of April. Salt Lake, Orem, and Ogden, or soundwarehouse.com. Rockin' Utah for over 46 years. The Warehouse. Sound Warehouse.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just two deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks, you know? Like us?
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Emergency traffic coverage brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. And here's Virl Johansson.
Northbound I-15 is closed in Box Elder County due to a fatal crash in Tremonton. Traffic is detoured at exit 376. Delays are backed up about 7 miles. Expect the freeway to be closed for a couple of hours. You can always send us your traffic tips at the KSL Mountain Home Services text line. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Virl Johansson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, a high today of 68 degrees. Cooler cooler tomorrow with a 50% chance of rain showers. Then on Thursday, that chance of showers clearing out with a high of 70. Right now, 62 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Utah Senator John Curtis is calling for continued support of Ukraine and a distancing from Russian President Vladimir Putin as a way to deter China from expanding its own military influence in the Far East. Speaking at a recent event, Senator Curtis said that our strength against Russia will show China what would happen should they go after Taiwan. He said, quote, "This is why Ukraine is so easy for me. Putin is not our friend." He got big cheers for that, actually, Leah Murray. That was one of the biggest moments of applause in this conference where he was speaking. Well, joining us now, we have a special guest, Megan Reese, non-resident senior fellow at the Scowcroft, I hope I said that right, Center for Strategy and Security, and the founder and CEO of Solid Intel. Megan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me again.
We love having you on the show. It's great to have you back. Just tell us, how will the way, we've talked about Russia and Ukraine quite a bit here. We sort of have tangentially talked about China and Taiwan and China watching what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. But let's really actually bring this out into the limelight. How will the way that Trump handles Russia and Ukraine influence China's next steps toward Taiwan and its neighbors?
Well, there are a number of ways we could look at this, but I think the biggest picture is that President Xi in China is going to be looking at whether or not alliances hold in supporting Ukraine, or whether or not the West will essentially give Ukraine to Russia in order to kind of squelch the bleeding of some of the defense capabilities. And so what Xi is going to be wondering is, will the West tire itself out by supporting the country that had its territory violated and give up rather quickly? And does that mean that in the case of a Taiwan conflict scenario, if China does decide to conduct an invasion or a blockade, will the West essentially capitulate fairly quickly because it doesn't want to deal with the financial or the military burden of supporting Taiwan? So that's the big deterrent question. Is the U.S. going to lead the West in essentially turning over Ukraine because it doesn't want to deal with it anymore? And in that case, will Xi learn the lesson that we can take the shiny object, we can take Taiwan, we just have to be willing to outlive any political, financial, or military pressure that the West will put up as a result of our effort to move against Taiwan, and we just have to outlast them. And honestly, it will only take a couple years, so we might as well do it. So the reason why continued support for Ukraine may make sense in a Taiwan-China context has a lot more to do with making sure that we're able to deter that line of thinking from the Chinese, that they don't think it would be an easy win or only take 2 to 3 years.
So, Megan, I'm just thinking about everything you just said, and I'm wondering, and I apologize for putting you just right on the spot, but talk to me about, can an America First foreign policy, which is being articulated quite a bit, right, kind of loudly by a Trump administration, in any way position us as a leader of the West, in any way position the West as capable of operating as a deterrent, as you just talked about, to China? I mean, I feel like, yeah, we started this with a conversation around Russia, Ukraine, and I'm here for it. But I also just kind of think the way we have been talking about our foreign policy has made us vulnerable across the board, not even just in Russia.
That's the biggest concern about talking about America First as America alone. A true America First policy, which I think was more what was exemplified in the first Trump administration, actually did bring in allies and actually moved towards strengthening our allied relationships in Southeast Asia, with Japan, with Australia, with others, so that we'd have a stronger grouping in order to push back against China eventually. And what we've seen in the short term in this administration is there's a lot of America alone rhetoric, but I'm still hopeful that as they push against these realities, they're going to start recognizing Japan matters, South Korea matters, Australia matters, Philippines, et cetera. We can't do this alone. We can't just tariff folks and hope that it all works out. We can't treat our allies and our friends the same way. We really do need to bring our friends along in this really massive geopolitical struggle that we're coming up against. There are some also good things they're doing with supply chains and different things like that, recognizing that we need to restart production very, very fast in order to deter as well. So there are a couple of things that they're doing that I think are very much in this deterrence narrative. It's just we really do need to bring our friends and allies along with us.
I just want to say, Megan, thank you so much for the nuance that America First doesn't necessarily mean America alone, right? Like I just wanted to elevate that and appreciate that, right, Erin?
Yeah, well, and that kind of leads to a question that I have, like what should that America First policy look like? How do you go about this? You know, the tariffs, for example. If one of the reasons why we have the tariffs is to sort of rebalance trade across the globe, I think there are a lot of people who say, yeah, that seems reasonable and I'm okay with that. But how do you do that? So I guess, you know, how do you have America First without America alone? And I don't know. Now I'm losing my question, but I hope that's coming across. Yeah.
Yeah, can tariffs work? What I suspect might happen is that the next version or whatever future version of tariffs exists will be a lot more nuanced and will have a lot more industry specific tariffs that will result from some pretty intense study about what supply chains are really necessary in the case that we lose access to certain types of goods. So reindustrializing America or industrial policy won't mean that we need to make every single widget that appears in a Bic pen here in America. What in fact it will mean is that we have our energetics and everything that goes boom in the DoD can be made in the U.S. or with allies where we're not really concerned those supply chains will be disrupted. And so I'm hoping that as they kind of rejigger what this looks like, it will be much more nuanced and much more specific to what we absolutely need in the case that things do go wrong and we do lose access to, let's say, the Chinese market for an extended period of time.
So just in our last 60 seconds here, I want to ask one follow-up question to that. Do you think that the tariffs, you know, you're talking about how we need our friends, we need our allies. Our relationship with China has always been tenuous. Do the tariffs drive China farther away and perhaps embolden them when they're watching what's happening with Russia and Ukraine? They're seeing the U.S. try to levy these high tariffs on their own country. Does that potentially embolden China in a way that we might not want to see?
I don't really see it as emboldening China. I think China has had these objectives all along, and they've been strengthening some of their key industries for survivability in the case that there are tariffs, that there are sanctions or export controls on those industries, so they can survive economic downturns from the outside world. So I don't actually think this will fundamentally change. It may speed some stuff up, but it won't change the overall objectives. And I think that's actually a sign that the administration should take seriously. It should look at the industries in mainland China, where there has been a concerted effort by the Chinese Communist Party to strengthen those industries so that they can survive an economic downturn, because those are the things that the Chinese see as vulnerable and they see as necessary for surviving a conflict scenario. And we need to look at that seriously so we understand where they're putting their resources and why those resources matter to them.
That's great. Thank you so much. Megan Reese, non-resident senior fellow at the Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, next on Inside Sources, elite universities in liberal states are banding together in a new private collective aimed at taking on the Trump administration. Let's talk about this new form of unionizing after the break.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy, and Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park, Hurricane. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Again, the freeway remains closed northbound I-15 in Box Elder County. This is due to a fatal accident in Tremonton, and that freeway is expected to remain closed at least for another 90 minutes. So plan your drive around that. All traffic will be forced off the freeway at exit 376. But for now, we're still dealing with about 7 miles of solid stop-and-go delays. If you're headed northbound I-15 past Willard Bay and Corinne and on the way towards Idaho, you've got big backups to deal with. If you know an alternate route, you may want to consider it. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss, because right now you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Are you serious? Just 3 weeks in, and the pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself. My body did exactly what it wanted to do. I just gave it its tools.
Let's spring into summer right now with Soda Weight Loss. If you want to look like this for summer, now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Remember, this is our best offer of the year, so let's go.
Get started now at SodaWeightLoss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Everyone needs a checking account, so get the one with built-in benefits to complement your unique lifestyle. Mountain America's My Style checking has perks no one can pass up. You'll enjoy sizzling restaurant deals, peace of mind mobile phone protection, timely telehealth access, built-in identity protection, and clutch loan rate discounts. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/mystyle. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Institutions of higher education continue their pushback on the Trump administration today. So there's like 2 pieces to this, Aaron. You've got Leah Murray alongside Aaron Ryder. There's a local angle on this I want to get into with you. And then a more national angle.
Yeah.
So let's start with the local angle. A letter condemning President Trump, written by more than 400 university and college leaders across the country. So that's 400 institutions of higher ed across the country. I'm going to just tell you, my president did not sign it, right? So Weber State's president, very rightfully.
My alma mater did not sign it.
Right.
BYU.
It followed along with rules about institutional neutrality that are expected from our public schools here in the state of Utah. Your alma mater, BYU, that's a private school. They have no institutional neutrality expectations.
But they also don't get involved in stuff like this.
So, but one school president has. So Westminster University president, Beth Dobkin, who oversees the smallest traditional higher education institution in the state, also private, so like BYU, it's a private university, said in a statement to the Salt Lake Tribune that the same core values that have guided Westminster for the past 150 years are the same values that are under attack today. Authentic and inclusive affirmation of individual identities, and knowledge from openness, questioning, discernment, and personal passion. So she, who took the helm of that school in July of 2018, maybe, again, my president can't because it's public. I guess your president of BYU maybe could have because it's a private school.
Maybe, but I think the religious ties to BYU, I just don't think they go anywhere near that.
Okay, so the question kind of is, one, is she the only school leader in the state who could have joined this effort without facing repercussions? Or two, is there some other reason, right, that makes it that Westminster is trying to position itself in the broader national narrative around Trump is a fun foil to have in higher ed?
I think that she kind of had nothing to lose from it,
Okay.
right? I mean, like we were saying, the public universities have to take a position of neutrality. They're required to do that. And so you're not going to get the University of Utah chiming in on this. You're not going to get Weber State. You're not going to get, some of these other universities chiming in. Schools like BYU probably aren't going near this, even if they could. But Westminster, if they don't participate, they're kind of like every other school. But if they do participate, well, they get some attention. And guess what? They're getting attention, right? Like, we're talking about it. And especially if the president feels strongly about what's happening in higher ed and she wants to make clear her standing on this. I don't know. I just see it as an instance where, the letter talks about the ability of schools to govern themselves without federal interference or threats to funding. This is coming after Trump's going after Harvard University, right? I just kind of see it as she probably feels really passionately about this and felt like Westminster was in a position where they could and in many ways would only gain from it by being part of the company with these other universities.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because that's the national story. So that's Westminster, which is a Utah higher ed institution. But the national story is this interesting collective. I hate that word. I just need you to know, as a fan of Star Trek, I thought the Borg were the scariest big bad on that show. So the collective, right? But this is a group of elite universities that are going to resist the Trump administration. So it's got Ivy League schools, leading private research universities. Mostly the schools are in Democratic states. Mm-hmm. I have made this argument on this show that the attack from the Trump administration isn't going after, Vanderbilt. Like, they're being very specific about which schools they attack. In places like Boston, Massachusetts, in places like New York City, New York, right? Like, they're actually in blue states. So what we've got at the head of it is Harvard. So basically, Harvard has been saying recently, we're not going to do whatever you tell us to do. We're not answering to you. You are not in charge of us. Now there are a number of other schools that are basically creating a group to push back to answer the Trump administration freezing billions of dollars in research funding, canceling billions of dollars in research funding if the universities don't do what they tell them to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised to see this, right? I think that especially when you are dealing with private universities, there's an interesting question here of what is the role of the federal government in dictating the policies of a private education institution. And outside of the bounds of constitutional law and some of the questions of constitutionality, where is the line, right? Where is that line? And so just, looking at it from that perspective, I find it a really interesting constitutional question. But, on the one hand, it's hard because there are known problems with higher education institutions around the country anyway. I know this from, I went to BYU for undergrad, but I went to Georgetown for grad school, and Georgetown is much more liberal and much more in line with kind of the Harvard, Columbia line than BYU was. And it, it's noticeable. It influences how people are educated. So I don't think it's wrong to have conversations about what should be discussed in higher ed and how those conversations should be going and what our education should look like. But also, is it appropriate for the federal government to target specific universities just because it doesn't like what those universities are teaching, right? Like that concerns me.
Yeah, I think the question too is it's about the grants. I've had this conversation on this show, right? Like, if you're getting money from the federal government, maybe the federal government gets to tell you what to do. The problem is, one of the reasons why, and I just keep saying this, I love our country. I think we're the greatest country on the planet. We don't have to be made great again, Aaron. We have always been great. And one of the things that makes us great, quite frankly, is a federal government that gives grant money to universities to go study, curing cancer. And figuring out CRISPR, right? And figuring out how you do immunotherapy for cancer, which is a better way of handling it. One of the conversations is, well, we need to see some results. Not always, right? Sometimes you got to study something for a really long time.
Well, but that depends on how you're defining results. Results can be, an ongoing study has results in and of itself. It's how you're defining it. And I think, if the federal government wants to give grant money for research on specific things, it is absolutely within the right of the government to have strings attached to those grants. I don't have any problem with that because it's taxpayer dollars that the federal government is entrusting to a university to do something with. And hopefully that something is, like you said, curing cancer or coming up with new scientific discoveries or other research that's beneficial to humankind. I'm okay with use of taxpayer dollars for that. But I also want some strings attached to how that research is being conducted and what's going on there because it's my tax dollars, right? So when it comes to grants, I think there are maybe some separations here, right? Grant money, all right, if the federal government wants to attach strings to grant money applicable to across all universities, any university who asks for this grant, these are the strings attached, I'm fine with that. But if it goes beyond that, if it's outside the scope of where the federal government already has connections to that university, and if they're only targeting the universities that they don't like, then that crosses a line for me.
No, and I appreciate the nuance, right? I think the answer to me is they actually met the worst strings attached to the grants. They already met them. President Trump froze them. And as someone who had a grant, who I met all the strings, and then my grant was frozen, right? I'm telling you, right? It's not like that seems a little ex post facto. So we'll just kind of add that.
Yeah, the strings should change for new grants.
Correct. It should, right, exactly. So I've got that issue. And the problem is then you go, well, look, I've frozen your $2 billion. So now while you're admitting students, do what I tell you. Mm-hmm. Now while you're training your new faculty, do what I tell you. Mm-hmm. So you're holding in one hand all the reasonable strings, but I changed them all. I made them fuzzy after I became president. And now I'm making you do stuff to be able to get the strings, like the reins released a little bit. Yeah, no.
And it's probably not the role of the federal government to do that really with any institution, because even on a state level with a state school like the University of Utah, it really should be the state's responsibility to be involved in that discussion, not even the federal government.
Correct. And the interesting thing about this, so Westminster is signing this letter, but we also have got conversations across the country like, how do we answer this? All right, coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, we won't solve that, but we'll do a deep dive into the Utah Compact. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story. Alpine Superintendent has announced he plans to leave the district in September to teach at BYU.
There is some sadness to see him go because, people enjoyed working with him and he provided amazing leadership for our school district.
Alpine Communication Director Rich Stowell says Rob Smith, the district's previous business administrator, will be serving as the interim superintendent starting July 1st. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Consumer confidence has dropped to the lowest level since the start of the pandemic. The index fell nearly 8 points in April, reflecting anxiety over the impact of President Trump's trade tariffs.
About a third of the people in this survey believe that the job market will start to slow down. Companies will start to hire fewer workers in the coming months. And once Americans start to feel uncertain about their own jobs, that's when you start to see a big pullback in spending. We haven't seen it yet.
ABC's Alexis Christoforous at the close. The Dow closing up about 1%, up 363 points to close at 40,591. S&P 500 up by 39 points. The Nasdaq up 117 points. We still have an emergency traffic situation in Box Elder County. The latest on that and your updated forecast coming up next. KSL News Time 2:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
In today's digital world, outdated technology can slow you down. You need a partner who keeps you ahead of the curve. At Les Olson IT, we help your business thrive with top-tier office technology, from copiers and IT hardware to advanced IT services and security solutions. With Les Olson IT, you get more than just products. You get solutions, service, and a team that cares. Les Olson IT, empowering businesses with the tools for success.
Les Olson IT.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Attention Utah residents. The tariffs are here and prices will be going up May 1st. Sound Warehouse is loaded in thousands of dollars in pre-tariff mobile audio video systems and more. Beat the tariffs at Sound Warehouse until the end of April. Marine, Harleys, and side-by-side audio. The entire inventory of Sound Warehouse at pre-tariff prices through the end of April. Salt Lake, Orem, and Ogden, or soundwarehouse.com. Rockin' Utah for over 46 years. The Warehouse, Sound Warehouse.
Emergency traffic coverage continues. It's brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. What's happening, Verl?
Maria, the closure on northbound I-15 in Tremont looks like it's been lifted from that earlier fatal crash. However, we still have solid delays as traffic is stretching all the way back to Honeyville. Another true David versus Goliath miracle movie from director T.C. Christensen. See Raising the Bar, the story of high jumper Alma Richards' journey from rural Utah to an Olympic gold medal. In theaters now. Verl Johansson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, a high today of 68 degrees, a little bit cooler tomorrow, 50% chance of showers. Then on Thursday, back up to 70 degrees, and that chance of showers returning on Sunday. Sunshine, 63 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
The 2010 Utah Compact spells out how we as a state will handle the issue of immigration with humanity. The first principle of the compact is that immigration is a federal issue. With so much inaction at the federal level, however, is there still hope for solutions? Leah, we have talked about this at length. Welcome back to Inside Sources. You have Aaron Ryder here with Leah Murray. Will Congress ever fix the broken immigration system? Will this just continue to be a political football for the rest of time? I don't know.
The answer is no and yes, right? No, they will never fix it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to sound like that.
I don't know. I don't know that I'm that bearish on it.
But here's my fun story on this. There's at the end of Senator Ted Kennedy's life, they were doing a documentary, right? And the man was dying of brain cancer. The first bill he started working on when he arrived at the United States Senate back in the black and white times was immigration reform. The bill he was working on as he was dying at the end of his 40, 50 storied year career in the United States Senate was immigration reform. So my answer is, how do I say?
The issue's never going to go away.
It's a wicked problem, really hard to solve.
Yeah, the issue's never going to go away. And even if we solve one piece of the problem, there will always be another piece to deal with. But I don't think that means that Congress can't do much, much better than they have done currently. However, let's take a minute here. KSL TV's Daniel Woodruff traveled to Washington, D.C. to speak with Utah's congressional delegation about the Utah Compact and what Congress is doing to tackle immigration reform. Let's listen to what he has to say.
It's a beautiful spring day in the nation's capital, where Utah's newest U.S. Senator is busy settling in to his new job.
If I had a bill or if I had something, they'd come and talk to me.
But John Curtis is not new to Washington.
I hope to be a good congressman for you, too.
He's been in Congress since 2017 and has seen firsthand the failure to address immigration in any meaningful way.
Are you frustrated seeing Congress essentially abdicating one of its major responsibilities?
I can't tell you that I'm more frustrated about anything as much as that. It's incredibly frustrating. It's one of the biggest disappointments of my time here.
This goes back long before Curtis. The last time Congress passed any major immigration reform was the 1980s. Since then, there have been many ideas about how to fix the system, some of which Curtis supports.
But right now, there's huge criticism. Anytime you put your name on a bill, people will find something wrong with it, and I'm telling you, they come and they want to whack your head off.
But ultimately, it's the federal government's job to solve immigration. The Utah Compact states, "We urge Utah's congressional delegation and others to lead efforts to strengthen federal laws and protect our national borders."
Do you feel like the compact still applies today?
I do.
I love the Utah Compact because it hits all the key points.
All 4 House members from Utah tell me that document is still relevant.
I think the most relevant part of the compact is that it recognizes that it's a federal concern.
We need to work on a legal immigration process, and that's a lot of what the Utah Compact talks about is economic incentives and treating people as humans.
The compact calls for policies that keep families together, respect the rule of law, and maintain Utah's welcoming and business-friendly reputation.
I think the Utah model, the Utah way, would be a good place to have part of that conversation.
But actually fixing the country's immigration system hasn't happened. Utah's newest member of Congress, Representative Mike Kennedy, thinks that's unfortunate.
We need a coalition of willing people able to think clearly about a really complicated issue, not continue to use it for political fundraising as a political football. And embarrassingly, both sides have done that over generations.
I don't know what was holding it up before I got here, but I know in the time I've been here, it's been a matter of getting the border under control first, and we're doing that.
Representative Celeste Malloy supports President Trump, who since the president took office, illegal border crossings have fallen sharply.
We have an administration that's controlling it.
I also wanted to ask Utah Senator Mike Lee about this issue, but despite my repeated requests, he never agreed to an interview. On social media, Utah's senior senator has cheered the president's immigration policies, some of which have attracted controversy, like the high-profile accidental deportation of a man to El Salvador. The Trump administration also ended a rule prohibiting immigration raids in schools, hospitals, and churches. A Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll shows 58% of Utah voters oppose allowing ICE to enter schools. Utahns also oppose raids on hospitals and especially places of worship.
The Trump administration is heavily focused right now on identifying folks that are here illegally but have committed crimes.
That's why Representative Blake Moore and Representative Burgess Owens both feel undocumented immigrants who don't fall in that category shouldn't worry.
I don't think that people should be concerned about someone coming peacefully to a church and somebody coming after them. We don't have the resources for that. I don't think we have the desire to do that.
With President Trump still newly in office, no one in Utah's all-Republican delegation is jumping to criticize his moves on immigration.
I think it's too soon to start saying what's working and what's not. Let's watch the process play out a little bit.
Still, can the complex issues surrounding immigration ever be fixed?
I am hopeful. I'm hopeful because I believe in the steps that we're taking right now to make sure we're getting the border under control.
And this is a hard thing, and we need to find a solution.
As for Curtis, he has a much bigger voice now in the Senate than he did in the House.
I know you're still, I guess, a freshman senator.
We're sitting here in my temporary office.
We're in the basement.
We're in the basement, yeah.
Based on your seniority.
Yeah.
But as you gain seniority, and you have a larger voice now than you did, are you optimistic you can make a difference in this realm?
Optimistic or not, I'm going to try.
In Washington, D.C., Daniel Woodruff, KSL 5 News.
Optimistic or not, I think that was a great line from Senator Curtis there. Tonight on KSL 5 TV at 10 o'clock, Daniela Rivera is going to take a closer look at the role of local agencies on immigration, so be sure to tune into that. But Leah, let's talk about this. I mean, while we were listening to this, you know, you kept talking about how we've been talking about immigration since the dawn of the country, which is true. I mean, the founders went over this when they were putting the Constitution together. And your take on it is that it's never going to be fixed. It's never going to be solved because we're always talking about it. But my question to you is, well, so what then? Do we just give up on it? Like, what do we do if we think we're never going to solve it? Do we just stop working on it?
No, but I feel like one of our Congress members in that sound we were just listening to said, wouldn't it be nice if it wasn't a political football? So a little bit what we could do is acknowledge that it is a really hard question that we have been talking about for 240 years. By the way, a lot of the questions from the Constitutional Convention, the way I teach my students, we're still arguing about today.
Yeah.
Because if they were easy, they would have written into the document what the solution is.
Yep.
The point is these are hard human questions. If we could take it out of the realm of rhetoric, out of the realm of like political football, like our Congress member, and I can't remember, I beg your pardon, which person said it.
I think it was Kennedy.
Right? Then it is the case that Senator Curtis saying, I'm going to keep trying. I believe him. He's optimistic. What he said, maybe not optimistic, but I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah.
But what we need is for people to stop scoring political points.
But how do you do that? How do you do that? If you are a candidate running for office, immigration is a huge issue. And at this point, you know, Governor Cox has talked about the fact that every state is a border state at this point. So how does this not become a football if you have to talk about it as a candidate because people care about it and they're concerned about it? You know, I don't know. Yeah,
I guess I have to demand better from my candidates, right? And then the answer is our voters need to not fall for those conversations. And all of us should take our level of discourse around what is a very hard problem that's been around for centuries. And it's not even unique to us, all over the planet. Conversations around refugees and what you do with migrants. This is it's a human dilemma, right? All of us just need to take the temperature down a little bit to let good people like Senator Curtis have a shot at making some progress.
I think that is an optimistic approach to a not optimistic opinion on immigration.
I just need you to go with me.
All right. Well, coming up on Inside Sources, the Utah Hockey Club's inaugural season has wrapped up, but its impact is already apparent. More and more young people are interested in the icy sport. After the break, what private groups are doing to get cities to build more ice rinks.
You know, in Box Elder County, they're all about the bucket list. Want to go birding at the premier birding destination in the western United States? Well, check off the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. How about land art? The spiral jetty and sun tunnels will leave you inspired. Or stand on the spot where the Union and Central Pacific Railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation. Yep, Golden Spike National Historical Park is like no other place. Check. Splash, boat, camp, or fish your day away? Willard Bay State Park will guarantee a good time. Soak in a natural hot spring with the highest mineral content in the world? That would be Crystal Hot Springs. You'll feel rejuvenated. Eat at Utah's original steakhouse. Maddox Ranch House is perfection. Check. A 1920s diner. The Idle Owl Cafe will transport you back in time. As you empty your Box Elder County bucket list, you'll find a whole new set of adventures to fill it up again. Fill up your bucket list at visitboxeldercounty.com.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. And we just want to give you an update. The good news is I-15 northbound is open once again in Box Elder County from the earlier fatal crash that we had in Tremont. The bad news is we still have residual delays passing Elwood on the way to Honeyville. So be patient. You're moving. It's just a matter of time before these delays will clear out. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hi, I'm Christine. 15 years ago, my world as a mom crumbled when my two sons finally were able to be honest about their substance addiction. My husband and I had been attending a 12-step addiction recovery program at our church to learn how to help our sons. We learned addiction is a life-threatening brain disease that's chronic, progressive, and has the capacity to take away free agency. I searched desperately to find the right help for our sons and was told to look for a strong aftercare program. By the grace of God, we found that with Renaissance Ranch and also found their amazing family program. Research studies indicate family members play a huge role in treatment outcome and long-term sobriety. Today, we are grateful owners of Renaissance Ranch with our sons and know addiction is a family illness, and families can find healing and connection when they are willing to learn more about recovery. If you have a loved one suffering from addiction, don't wait to seek help. Join us in our online Christ-centered family education classes that are open to the public at no charge. Look for us at renaissanceranch.com.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just two deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks. You know, like us.
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
All right, so maybe one of my favorite things that's happening right now is that Utah brought in a hockey team. Aaron Ryder.
Do we have an official name? Are we the Utah Mammoth? Are we going to be the
I don't
Utah
know that
Mammoth?
I know the answer. Isn't that horrible? I should know that. I kind of wanted us to stay Utah Hockey Club. I'll just be clear, because I thought that was like classy and cool. And then you could have like a nickname as the Mammoth or whatever, but still be the Utah Hockey Club. I went to watch the Vegas Golden Knights hockey game wearing my Utah Hockey Club, merch, wearing my T-shirt, showing my love. I'm a huge fan of sports. My producer never wants to let me talk about sports. But today, Aaron, he said that we could. It doesn't happen often, and so I don't know what I did.
It's because today we get to merge sports and policy together.
Yeah, but I would argue we could always do that, and he's not always on board with that. So let's have a conversation about hockey. So ice hockey is hard, although it's interesting to me, as I kind of derail myself in this conversation, we are a winter sports town.
Yeah.
We are a winter sports state. Why is there not hockey everywhere? I mean, like, people launch themselves in Park City, like, jumping off ski. I mean, like, we are absolutely a winter sports place, but then hockey, not so much. Does that make sense? Like,
well,
it's
we've
not...
had the Grizzlies for a long time, and, that's different than having a professional hockey team.
Yeah.
And it's like the Jazz are different than the Bees, right? The Jazz, you've got junior Jazz, and that sort of infiltrates out into kids who play basketball. The Bees never really... at least I don't think, had anything quite like that, even though, Anyway, so, yeah, yes, we had a minor league team here, the Grizzlies. We've had them for a long time, but that's different than having a major league team.
Right, but I guess I would argue, so I thought where you were going, so I'm going to pull the thread in what you just said. It's different from junior Jazz. Because my children both play junior Jazz, and
I played junior Jazz.
Every kid you meet in Utah was on like a junior Jazz team playing basketball. It is ubiquitous in youth sports, youth rec sports, for little kids to be playing basketball. My children started playing when they were 3. My son is still playing in high school. Like, they do it all the time. What I meant to say about hockey was like that isn't true. So you would have thought in a winter sports place there would have been a lot of kids, right, with a hockey stick out on some ice trying to hit a puck into a goal. But we just don't see it. So as a result, in a state that just brought professional hockey, although you're not wrong, Grizzlies, and I've seen them play, so the Grizzlies are professional hockey, but like NHL hockey,
yeah,
it's a question to kind of beg, how do we get homegrown talent? How do we have it be the case? Because I don't know if you know this, Aaron Ryder, and probably you don't, but right now the New York Football Giants, which is my favorite football team, just drafted a kid from Kaysville. So maybe the quarterback of the Giants is going to be Jackson Dart from Kaysville. That's really cool. One, because I think maybe the Giants will be on TV next year here if he's on that team, so I'm excited about it. And I don't have to pay for that ticket on my streaming. But 2, we always kind of like being able to cheer at the best levels of sport of somebody who's from around. Does that make sense? Like a kid who's from around. So in the hockey league, if we don't have kids playing hockey in Utah, maybe because they're all doing junior Jazz or maybe because they're skiing, we're never going to have a homegrown talent person that we can cheer for.
That's an interesting argument, though, Leah, because I'm thinking about the Jazz, for example, as a comparison here. I don't know how many players on the Utah Jazz are homegrown players, right? Like, they go through the NBA draft. However, I'm looking up facts on Junior Jazz right now. Apparently, Junior Jazz is the longest-running youth basketball league in the entire NBA. That's a big deal. But, part of that is because the Jazz had resources to start the Junior Jazz program. And that was something that the leadership of the Jazz wanted to do, right? I think Larry Miller was involved in started the Junior Jazz program. So, but that being said, I don't think that the Junior Jazz program has led to the creation of a Jazz team that's built on homegrown Utah talent.
Dude, I think that's fair.
Right?
I also am not sure that how do I say? But there's football everywhere, so we've got Jackson Dart, right? There's basketball everywhere. Maybe they don't play for the Jazz, but they might go play for the New York.
We do have Jimmer Fredette.
Right, they might go other places. So it's not about necessarily homegrown to stay here, but it's like about homegrown athletes playing cool sports out in the universe. If we think hockey is a cool sport, we want our children.
Sure.
Right? You just never know, right? Like my kid might pick up a hockey stick and then be like the next Wayne Gretzky. It's not going to happen, but it's possible. And I won't know unless there's something like the Junior Jazz that makes it possible.
Yeah.
Right. So what I love, and by the way, there's that great commercial, like Ryan Smith is in the commercial and he's like, I was in Junior Jazz, right? Like, so the answer is, it's not about becoming a basketball player. Most kids who play team sports early become really good leaders in whatever discipline they find themselves.
And they also become fans of those sports.
Well, there's that too, but the answer is it's domain transferable skills, right? Like the ability to work with a team, the ability to show up even when you've had a hard day.
Even just the athletics.
Yeah, the athletics of it, all of it. All right, so this is a long, go.
Well, and I'm going to, where the Jazz had the resources to start Junior Jazz back in the day, we now have a pro hockey team here in Utah with an owner, Ryan Smith, who actually is invested and has the resources to kind of promote youth hockey. So where the Grizzlies may not have had that in the past, now we have somebody who is interested in that. So what are they doing, right? Ryan Smith, who's the head of Smith Entertainment Group, they own the Utah Hockey Club. The group is offering cities up to $500,000 to build more ice hockey rinks. I think this is interesting from two angles. One is the policy angle and working with the cities to build the rinks. And the second is what we've been talking about, the development of youth sports, right? So before we talk about the policy side of this, is there anything more you want to say here, Leah Murray? I'm giving you an opportunity.
Aaron's like, the only thing that's interesting in this is the municipal policy. And I'm all, we're going to have hockey players all over Utah and how cool it is. By the way, hockey's super expensive. So the difference between Junior Jazz and hockey is any kid with a basketball can play basketball. The difference between like baseball and hockey is any kid with a ball and a bat and a glove can play baseball. But hockey like has all this equipment.
Yeah.
And as the kids grow every year, they need new equipment, right? Like this
and you have to have an ice rink.
Correct. And you need ice that actually doesn't melt when we have not great snow or something, right? So the answer here, I love the investment in kids, right? Like that Ryan Smith is saying, I'm going to try to make it be the case that you live close enough to a hockey rink that if you wanted that to be one of the sports you want to play, you're going to be able to do it. All right, now let's talk municipal policy because that's what you want to talk about.
And that's what I think what our producer wants us to talk about.
Is he giving us a dirty look? That's fine. But the answer right there, right? It's a beautiful example of a public-private partnership, right? Because cities own the land, right? Cities are in charge of the property inside of their domain. And if we want to have an ice rink, then what we need to do is have a city loosen up some space for an ice rink to come in. So the Smith Entertainment Group saying, we will donate $500,000 per rink, up to 20 rinks, right? So they're not like just like billions of dollars coming out, but like up to 20 rinks, we will pay so that you can have kids close enough to a hockey rink that maybe this becomes a sport they want to do, as ubiquitous as Junior Jazz, as ubiquitous as soccer, like youth soccer organizations, as ubiquitous as like Little League. How cool is that? Do you not think it's cool, Aaron Ryder?
I think it's great that, I appreciate that Ryan Smith and the Smith Entertainment Group are invested in this because we need good development around the state of Utah. We just do. One of the interesting questions around this is there going to be demand for it, right? Like, this is great. And maybe this is demand that builds over time too. But the building and maintenance of a hockey rink is going to be more than $500,000 over the lifespan of that hockey rink. So the cities are going to have to front a lot of the costs for this ultimately, and they're going to have to feel, is there demand in this city? Does Hurricane have the demand for this? Does Moab have the demand for this? Where if Smith Entertainment Group is talking about every municipality in Utah should have an ice rink, does every municipality have the demand to support an ice rink? And maybe they do. And if they do, this is a great way to jumpstart that, where cities may not have the upfront cost to invest in the development, but they could support it on the long term if they had the kids to show up.
And I'll tell you what, maybe they never even thought about it until this public-private partnership was pitched as an idea. Next up on Inside Sources, Aaron Ryder, let's get back to things you like to talk about, like, I don't know, the state of Utah's economy.
I like sports, too.
We will chat with someone from the governor's office to get the latest. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top story this hour. If you're planning to drive through Davis County in the middle of the night, KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi reports you're going to want to be aware of a planned closure on I-15.
UDOT officials referred to the project as massive. Spokesman Mitch Shaw says they are building a new interchange at Shepherd Lane. It'll connect residents on the east with commercial and retail on the west with walking and bike access. But the freeway must close for safety while enormous beams are placed. The freeway will be closed every night this week from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Barring any trouble or bad weather, crews might be able to finish by Friday. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Amazon is denying reports it plans to display the tariff cost on all its products.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said this about reports that Amazon was considering the move.
This is a hostile and political act by Amazon.
But Amazon says it's not true, that it was never under consideration for the main Amazon site, and nothing of the sort has been implemented on any Amazon property. Its team at the more obscure, ultra-low-cost store called Amazon Hall had discussed listing import charges, but it was never approved and was never going to be implemented. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 300 points today. And coming up, showers are on the way, but not yet. The full KSL weather forecast is on the way next day here. It's 2:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy, and Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park, Hurricane. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandswimspasale.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Are you looking for a fun way to get your kids outside and off their screens this spring? Try flower gardening. Starting a beautiful flower bed or easy container garden is a great hands-on way to spend quality time together while teaching kids about nature. They'll love digging in the dirt, picking out their favorite flowers, and watching them bloom, all while making real, lasting memories. Plus, gardening is a great way to slow down, soak up some sunshine, and enjoy the fresh air as a family. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with care for 4 generations right here in Utah. Whether you have a big sunny backyard or just a small shady front porch, our colorful, locally grown flowers make it easy to add beauty to your home. So this spring, start with a new family tradition, one that grows with your kids. Get inspiration at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens on Instagram or find a garden center near you at ogg.com. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style Checking with built-in benefits. Here's Rural Johansson.
Northbound I-15 is open again in Box Elder County. No residual delays. A small crash in Davis County by South Weber Drive at 2700 East. That's close to the Maverick, just west of Highway 89. If you see something happening, text us at 57500 on the KSL Mountain Home Services text line. Virl Johansson in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast, 68 this afternoon, then down to 49 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, showers arrive, 62 for the high. After that, it warms up into the 70s the rest of the work week. Right now, 63 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Earlier this month, a new Rich States, Poor States report ranked Utah as the state with the best economic outlook. When the report was released, we spoke with the head of ALEC, the group that sponsored the report, about why Utah ranks so high. Today, we wanted to chat more about the long-term economic outlook for the state with someone very important who actually has his eye on so many things relating to the economy of the state. Ryan Starks, Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Aaron. Great to be here.
We're very excited to have you with us today. Now, Ryan, you are about to depart as the outgoing director of GOEO. And so we have an opportunity here to talk to you about your experience with GOEO and the Utah economy and all those things. So let's just start with this. Tell us from your perspective, you have been involved in this world for a while now. What is the current state of Utah's economy and how does the future look for Utah?
Well, that's a great question. I've been involved in this space for a number of years now, as you said, and it's just been so fun to see Utah grow from a small-sized state to a medium-sized state and to really grow into what the Kim C. Gardner Institute labels an elite economy. And so we're humming on all cylinders, and it's exciting to be part of this. Looking forward, though, is this something that we can sustain? As you indicated, this group, Rich States, Poor States, released a publication in the report that looks at 15 different metrics, things like tax rates, debt service, workforce, etc. And according to this report, which is a really robust report, it's not one of these, spin-off things that are, just trying to make money or something, but this is an in-depth think tank that looks at these different criteria. And for the 18th year in a row, they're projecting that Utah has the strongest economy and the strongest economic outlook. So moving forward, we're really confident that the state's going to continue to be positioned for years to come.
Ryan, I love this. Like the title of this should be "The Future's So Bright, I Have to Wear Shades." Right? This is like an old song. But I am wondering, does the fact that we are, how did you say that Kim C. Gardner said it was an elite economy, does that kind of protect us from the vulnerabilities maybe of what happens when the national economy starts to go kittywampus? Does that make sense? Like, are we able to hold up against those storms?
Yeah, we're able to weather the storms in a strong way. Now, to say that we're immune from those storms, certainly not. We'll experience challenges just like the rest of the nation. But we look at economic diversification. So we look at the strength of our industries and how are we doing in each of the sectors. And we're very diverse. We're among the most diverse economic states in the country. And so when those hard times come, we're typically able to weather them better than most other states, but certainly we feel the pinch too.
So, I guess from that perspective, what needs to happen to make sure that we stay competitive? You're talking about diversification, but not even just from a national perspective, from an international perspective. I know that, you guys have been on several trade missions internationally. Mm-hmm. I believe you were part of the trade mission to Canada recently, right? And
I was.
And so looking at this from a national and an international perspective, how do we, is it just a matter of keeping a diverse economy, or are there other things that we also need to be looking at in the future to make sure that we stay competitive?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. So we need to maintain our position as having a very strong and diverse economy, but we also need to rethink the way that we do business. And so specific manufacturing is an opportunity for us to nearshore and to really augment what we're doing in the state, where we're less reliant on tariffs, for example. We're less reliant on foreign supply chains. And so we have some initiatives in place to strengthen our manufacturing. That's one example of how we kind of weather the storm. But then being very strategic, too, in where are the countries we do business with? How can we circumvent some of the national challenges? And we saw a lot of positive outcomes from this trade mission to Canada, where we said, well, at a subnational level, how can we really strengthen this relationship and kind of bolster that manufacturing partnership? And the Canadians were very gracious and grateful that we were there, and our businesses were happy to be part of that delegation. And so there are workarounds, but I think the key is not to lose sight of the end goal, and that's to maintain what we say the world's best economy.
I love that because, Ryan, I got to just tell you, of course the Canadians loved having you there. I mean, I think, to a certain extent, I think people in Utah are just so kind and wonderful, right? So a little bit excellent ambassadors on behalf probably of the whole country.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just going to ask that policy, maybe political question again. I love how you just said, we're going to bolster the subnational relationship. Do you catch any flack for that? So if it is the case, because earlier we talked about Canada just ran an anti-Trump election, right? We got a new prime minister in Canada. I'm imagining the president might have some feelings about that. How do you know what I mean? Stay under the radar. How does Utah not maybe catch any blowback from having its own strong relationships based on your excellent work, but without having the president maybe get frustrated about it, or maybe he doesn't?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the idea of state relationships with foreign countries and with foreign provinces isn't a new concept, and so we're just trying to take what we're already doing but strengthening it. And an example is we signed a memorandum of understanding with Quebec to outline how we can best work together in terms of workforce, university partnerships and exchanges, manufacturing. We actually are going to host a delegation from Canada who now wants to return back to Utah to continue that dialogue. So we think that we can kind of play under that national radar while still, supporting the state-to-state relationship.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan, you are in your last week as executive director of GOEO, is that right?
That's right. It's been 6 wonderful years.
All right. So looking back on your time as the executive director of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, what are some of the things you look at and think these were just big wins for us? These were big things that happened that maybe, maybe a lot of our listeners aren't very familiar or aware of all the work that GOEO does. And we just want to give you an opportunity to say, here's what we've done over the last 6 years and how this has impacted Utah.
It's a great question. And the nice thing about this office is every day we're engaged with high-level conversations, either with companies or with foreign countries, with investors. And so there's so many good things. And I think over my 6 years, I've learned that we don't just drink the Kool-Aid. We're not like the fan who gets excited about football season and thinks, hey, this is the year just to see our team stumble. We really are thriving economically, and it's just great to see the different metrics and the work that's happening across the state. A couple of the highlights that I would mention is, the state has been able to work with 41 different companies just in the past 3 years since I've been helped facilitate major expansions. And when we say major expansions, these are expansions that create higher than average paying jobs. So we're not just saying we want any type of job. We want higher than average in terms of the pay. So we've attracted 13,646 new high-paying jobs during the past 3 years. They have invested $16.3 billion into our economy. And so that's what keeps our taxes low. That's what provides job opportunities for our children and their children. We've also done some other cool things, too. We wanted to put Utah on the map as the startup capital of the United States. And so we launched an initiative called the Startup State Initiative. We took all the different business resources from around the state and compiled them into a singular website called startup.utah.gov. And so if you're an entrepreneur, or you want to learn how to grow your company, you can go to that website, startup.utah.gov. We've seen a lot of success with that. But then we've also done things, too, to really strengthen our international partnerships. We launched something called the Joint Utah-Mexico Partnership, or JUMP, which was a strategic document signed by Mexico and leaders of Utah to look at education, to look at manufacturing, workforce. Mexico's a big trading partner for us. We also opened doors with Iceland. In fact, today we have some Icelandic friends visiting with us, learning from us. But we were able to go understand how they utilize geothermal energy. And now we're starting to implement some of their best practices. And so whether it's international, whether it's domestically, or even within the state, it's just been a wild ride, a lot of wins. The past 3 years have seen more focus and more project wins in rural Utah than any other point. So we've been able to tour all 24 rural counties, visit with their commissioners, help their companies grow. So whether you're rural Utah or Salt Lake City, good things are happening.
Awesome. Well, Ryan Starks, Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a great one.
All right, in our final segment on today's Inside Sources.
Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle.
We're going to chat with the West Jordan mayor, who is dancing in the hallway here, about a bike ride that he did from Salt Lake City to St. George, visiting small Utah towns along the way. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Wappett, Executive Director of the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice, or the IDRPP, at Utah State University. Did you know that 1 in 4 Utahns have a disability? Think about that. Your neighbor, your colleagues, your family. At some point, disability affects everyone. The USU IDRPP is on the front lines, driving change right here in Utah and across the nation for people with disabilities. For over 50 years, IDRPP has been Utah's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, generating vital research that shapes effective policies and delivers real-world solutions. From groundbreaking research to evidence-based training, the IDRPP empowers individuals with disabilities, their families, and the professionals who support them. We're making our communities more accessible and welcoming for everyone. Find out more at idrpp.usu.edu.
This week's movie show, brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in Friday morning. Sound Sleep Medical with 7 locations in Utah.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-371-0505. 800-371-0505.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Secret Clinical Dominating Extra Stinky Stress Sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
This is regular deodorant.
Ugh, I can't.
Secret Clinical with workout sweat.
Let's run another marathon.
And regular deodorant.
How much more?
Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Jeff Kaplan. When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Earlier this month, West Jordan Mayor Dirk Burton took a more than 400-mile bike ride from Salt Lake City through rural central Utah on his way to a conference in St. George. But first of all, we have the mayor in studio, and you are wearing the most fabulous tie. Tell our listeners what's on that tie.
Bicycles.
Right? I feel like this is a theme for you, Mayor.
It is a theme for me.
Like biking is the most important thing.
Well, it's very high up there. My wife's more important.
Oh, that's
but I
good.
still like my bicycle.
That was said on air, too.
That was
a
good.
job.
That was good. So, Mayor Burton, you rode on, and his socks, too. Socks and tie. I love it. I love it. Why?
Why?
Why? What is it about? First of all, when I have a conference in St. George, I'm going to tell you what, I drive. So why are we riding our bike to St. George? Like, kind of what are you elevating? What's the point?
I'm not doing it to make a point. I do it for pleasure.
Yeah,
I
don't
love the way it
believe you.
feels. The sights I get to see, the smells I have, the sounds I hear around me, the way the air feels. And I don't put earpods in. I just have a
Wait,
quiet.
pause. You're doing 50 miles a day, and you're not listening to podcasts while you're doing that.
Whoa, oh, no, I'm not.
You're not listening
I'm
to Inside
to
Sources?
Nature.
Oh, Mayor.
And I'm listening to the traffic drive past me. I need to hear that vehicle and know where they are by the sound.
Oh, that's fair.
No, I need to move over because I want to give them the right of way because I would lose, and I don't want to lose.
Yeah, that would be a bad loss. No, I love that though because. And along the way, you visited a lot of Utah's towns, right?
I did.
I'd be curious to know, what did you maybe learn about Utah in that process that maybe you didn't already know?
Oh, it was amazing. For example, I visited the town of Helper, and I had lunch with the Helper mayor. And then she recommended that I go over to their museum and check their museum. And I thought, I've got some time. I thought, I'll spend 10 minutes at the museum. I spent over an hour in that museum. If you're ever in Helper, check that out. That is so cool. And that mayor has done so many good things for that town and fix it up. And she's telling me when she first became mayor, she had to do everything. She had to figure out how to write grants. And I said, the Utah League of Cities and Towns will help you with those things. She goes, I know. They've helped me a lot. And so I was kind of like a sales ad for Utah League of Cities and Towns for EDC Utah and other things like that when I was going down there. And so she has just turned that town around. If you've ever been to Helper, but you haven't been there recently, you need to go again. It was impressive. And then I went and visited the mayor of Price, because that's real close to Helper, and took him out to breakfast and had a great time. I visited with the mayor of East Carbon City. I'll admit, I didn't even know there was an East Carbon City.
I don't think I did either.
But there is. And I said, so what is the big challenge you're having? He said, my challenge is our population is going down. I thought, wow, that's the opposite of what we're having in West Jordan. Our population is going up. He said, we need something to give people something to do in here so they don't keep leaving. And I thought, you know what? You're right. I said, have you worked with EDC Utah? That stands for
Economic Development Corporation of Utah.
Exactly. And I said, I'm on the board there, and I've been trying to make everyone understand that it's not EDC Salt Lake, that it's really EDC Utah. And I said, you ought to use them to help you get business here. And I said, and if you do that, that gives someone a place to live in your community, which reduces the housing crisis we're having in the Wasatch Front. And if we reduce the housing crisis in the Wasatch Front, it will help ease the cost of housing there because it's supply and demand. And it will help you guys and help us, and we all get to win. So I'm going to follow up with EDC Utah and see if I can get them out to East Carbon City.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I love this. So talk to me about it's mayor to mayor, right?
It is,
and like,
yes.
what did you say? So West Jordan is way growing. This is a mayor of a city you're talking about that's like maybe losing population.
They are.
What are the things though you have in common, or how do I say, are problems like similar to all cities?
We are, and right now, all cities are working on the budget because we have to get the budget going. You know, our budget year for government goes from July 1st to July 1st. So we're working on it. In fact, I'm ready to turn my budget over to the city council next week, and then they're going to take it and run with it from there. So we talked about budgets and how that's going. We talked about population and growth and how the the state government comes out and says, we need to do these things to get more population in the communities. And he said, that drives us crazy. We don't have that problem you have in the Wasatch Front. We're part of Utah. They need to remember we are also part of Utah. And when they make this legislation that one size doesn't fit all, they need to think of us and remember us when they're making those laws. In fact, I talked to the mayor of Torrey. His name is Mickey Wright. And he said that he's been trying to put in 2 fourplexes in his community. And I said, let's see, 2 fourplexes. That would 3 people per unit. That would add a population of like 24 people. He said, that's right. I said, what is your population in Torrey right now? Around 250. I said, wow, that is a big percentage growth,
right,
which is 2 fourplexes. And compare that to West Jordan, where we've got like 10,000 entitled units. And if we fill all those up, our population is going to go big, but it will be a smaller population percentage change than theirs. So we have the same problems at a different scale. Our budget, we add a couple more zeros on West Jordan's. They take a couple of zeros off, and we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that, kind of going along with that, you're part of the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and do you find that the industries and the challenges, I'm thinking about Torrey, right, and how Torrey is located right by, Capitol Reef?
Capitol Reef. Mm-hmm.
And so I would expect a lot of their industry comes from tourism and comes from the things in Capitol Reef, which might be a little bit different than West Jordan, right?
Exactly. I mean, we get tourism in West Jordan because everyone wants to go to West Jordan. I mean, don't you?
Obviously.
We've got a skate park there. We've got a grocery store. We've got a swimming pool.
We've got a grocery store.
We've got an arts theater. Oh, you want to go to West Jordan?
Do you have a hockey rink?
We are trying to get some ice in West Jordan. And if West Jordan gets that ice, it'll be even more cool. So, yes. So we're working on that too. And all those things are great. And so we have similar things. As the mayor, the people go to us and want us to solve the problems. And in Torrey, he has all these communities. Torrey's a very small city, and so some of the hotels are outside their city boundaries. But he has to service water to them. It's really funny. I asked him, well, how many water tanks do you have? 1. How big is it? 5,000 gallons. Well, we're building another water tank in West Jordan in addition to all the others, which is 3 million gallons. But that's, it's the same problem.
Same problem. Yeah.
Right.
Different scale. But his problem is these businesses are outside of the city limits, but they have to provide water for it. And so when they build things like water tanks, they have to get a bond for it. And then trying to find a way for the city to pay for that for the people outside the city is a challenge for them. And I said, you need the Utah League of Cities and Towns who will help you in dispersing that and do it. Because, they want to annex them, but they don't want to annex them because it'll make them, they'll have to pay these taxes that the city has paid. I said, you need to find a way so they know what the benefit is and how they come out ahead by being part of the Torrey City. So those are some discussions we have, and it just ties right in. It's so much fun and getting to meet and talk with them and hear the same things that they're going through. And then they meet me down in St. George at the Utah League of Cities and Towns.
Because they all drove like reasonable people.
Why would they drive when they could ride a bike?
Yes, but none of them had the mindfulness and the moments that Mayor Burton had riding his bike all the way down there.
I'll tell you, when you ride your bike, you oxygenate your body, your brain thinks better, and you feel better. I mean, ask Jeff about it. He told me he pedals a bike in his basement.
A little bit.
He doesn't get very far, but it makes you feel better, right?
Absolutely. When I get outside and ride, it's great. The problem is the trick knee. Oh. Do you have an answer for that?
I don't. I guess you could just put a toe clip in and use your right knee and just bring it up and down and let the left knee relax. There's your answer.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Because you need to ride the bike.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Last half a minute here. Mayor, what was your biggest takeaway from your journey?
My biggest takeaway is they are going through the same things I'm going through. And their biggest concern is similar to mine, is having the state understand what the cities are experiencing. Because sometimes they make laws and don't understand what we're experiencing. So they need to invite the state, our state legislators, our state senators, to our cities and take them on a tour of our city and let them get to know who we are and what we're doing.
I feel like that should be a bike tour.
Yes.
Right? When those legislators come?
In West Jordan, we actually did a bus tour. We invited all the legislators and took them on a bus around the city and said, look, this is West Jordan.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for listening to today's Inside Sources. Next up is Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan, 64 degrees. KSL's top story. The last piece of the puzzle for Ryan Smith's new vision for downtown, a slice of the Salt Palace. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera has the latest.
Today, in front of a packed Salt Lake County Council chamber, SCG will make its final pitch to buy about 6.5 acres of land tied to the Salt Palace. The public won't weigh in until after that pitch wraps up. How much are they offering? That's still a secret, but officials say the sale is crucial to unlocking a $1.5 billion transformation, one that would connect the Delta Center, the Salt Palace, and cultural hotspots like Bravenel Hall into one buzzing entertainment district. If approved, the project could bring in more than $11 million in new tax revenue every year. As soon as the council makes a decision, we'll bring it to you right here on Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Fire crews are still battling a 3-alarm fire at an old restaurant near 1500 South Main Street. The fire has been knocked down quite a bit. Salt Lake City Fire Captain Brant Handcuff says this building is the old Golden Dragon restaurant, which is now owned by a snack manufacturing company.
Had about a dozen employees inside. They were all able to self-evacuate, and none of them sustained any injuries.
Handcuff says no firefighters were hurt. They're going to keep an eye on the structure through the night to watch for hot spots. Neighbors will also be watching closely.
It's crazy and a bit scary.
Tammy Dreyer's been living in this neighborhood for 8 years. I caught up with her as she watched firefighters work to protect her home just a couple buildings away from the fire.
I'm hoping that it all gets under control.
Joe Swenson also stood out and watched everything unfold. He works just across the way and frequently shops at the Japanese market across the street from the fire.
It's a bummer. Yeah, I feel more bad for the people that are, it's always sad when small businesses having something happen like that,
He says he hopes the community can rally around the Mexican snack business that's now left trying to pick up the pieces. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
There's no clue what started the fire. Our top national story this hour, Amazon's decided, never mind. They were supposedly considering whether to show how much tariffs are adding to the price of every item they sell, and President Trump hit the roof. The White House calling the move a hostile political act. The president called Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly, and he did the right thing.
Now Amazon says, we weren't going to do that.
Amazon is denying the claims. It launched backlash from the White House, saying adding tariff charges to the main Amazon website has never been under consideration. There had been some discussion about showing import charges on the more obscure, ultra-low-cost website called Amazon Haul, but nothing on the main Amazon website, and that it was only considered for Amazon Haul, but was ultimately not approved, and Amazon has not been moving forward with it.
ABC News correspondent Alex Stone. KSL News Time 3:03. You're going to be seeing fewer UPS trucks this summer as they brace for a slump in Amazon deliveries. UPS is slashing nearly 20,000 jobs. They're closing 70 facilities. Meantime, the president signed an executive order today that relaxes some of the 25% tariffs on imported autos and auto parts. This will provide some financial help wanted by the big U.S. automakers. Consumer confidence has dropped for the 5th month in a row. It's now at its lowest level since the start of the pandemic. The Conference Board Index falling nearly 8 points in April as optimism about the economy evaporates among everyday Americans. Local economists are feeling somewhat confident about Utah's ability to weather the financial storm.
Now, to say that we're immune from those storms, certainly not. We'll experience challenges just like the rest of the nation. But we look at economic diversification. So we look at the strength of our industries and how are we doing in each of the sectors. And we're very diverse.
Ryan Starks is the executive director of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. He told Inside Sources that this diversity sets us up to do better than other states, but we're still going to feel the pinch. The Alpine School District superintendent has announced he's cleaning out his desk in September. He's going to go teach at BYU.
Dr. Shane Farnsworth announced his retirement this morning, with his last day planned for September 1st. An interim president has
time 3:05. It's time for First Look Traffic. Ricky, it's been rough today.